Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making another Thanksgiving favorite and traditional style food, and we are going to make gluten-free cornbread stuffing. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love stuffing, but it is another one of those delicious Thanksgiving foods that is filled with gluten and a lot of carbs. So we're gonna try to make that as healthy as possible. So first we're gonna start with, I found this really awesome gluten-free cornbread muffin mix. So it literally just has cornmeal in it and it doesn't have any extra stuff. To make it, we're gonna follow the directions on here, except we are not gonna put the sugar in there. There is no need to put sugar in when we're making this, just because it's not a sweet type of stuffing that we're doing. So we're just going to actually leave the sugar out. So we'll just need a stick of butter, 2 eggs, and a cup of water. Hey everybody, so now I'm gonna start preparing our cornbread. It calls for a stick of butter, which is 8 tablespoons melted. So I'm just gonna pop this in the microwave, in a microwave safe bowl to get that melted. I already have my 1 cup of water measured and my 2 eggs. I'm actually going to put this cornbread in a cookie sheet, because what's going to happen is after we cook it, we're going to want to break it up, dry it out. So I want something that's going to cook fast. So I'm actually going to spray my cookie sheet with our non-stick cooking spray. So now I'm going to marry all of our ingredients together. Put that in there a little bit longer. I'm going to beat everything together.
Okay.
So here I have started putting all of my ingredients together. I'm just going to add in my water right here. And I am going to beat this until it's all nice and blended. Nope.
I want to.
So that's all nice and blended now. I've had my oven preheating to 350. It actually showed that it was supposed to be on 375, but I dropped it down a little bit because I'm cooking such a thin layer. So it's gonna cook a lot faster. So I'm gonna scrape this into my cookie sheet. Spread that out evenly. And the cool thing about this too is because we are gonna end up turning this into basically breadcrumbs. It's okay if you overcook it. We just don't want it to be burnt. So here we go. We have our cornbread on our cookie sheet. We're gonna pop this in the oven. All right, we're back. I just took out my cornbread. As you can see, it's very firm, very nice. I'm going to actually preheat my oven now. I'm gonna bump it up to 425. In the meantime, I'm gonna start putting together the mixtures of things I'm going to put into my stuffing. So what I did is I took a stick, craziness back there, of this Kerrygold garlic and herb butter, just for some extra flavor. So delicious, right? I've chopped up a small stalk of celery, including with the leaves and everything left that on, as well as a whole entire white onion. So once this kind of gets melted down a little bit, I'm going to put all of my whole bowl of onions and celery in here. And I'm going to cook them until they get a little transparent. And then in a couple minutes, while I'm doing that, I'm going to break this up and put it on a bigger cookie sheet. And I'm going to put that in the oven and start like roasting it down to where it dries out a lot. So we have our celery and onions going on right there with our garlic butter. I crumbled up all that garlic bread, put it on a bigger cookie sheet, and now we're gonna pop that in the oven, let it dry out and get toasty like breadcrumbs. Okay, so we are waiting for our cornbread to dry out. Our onions and celery are already done. They're very transparent. Now we're gonna start trying to put everything into our bowl. So I love sweet and salty. So what I did was I peeled a whole entire apple. I'm gonna cut that up, stick that in there as well as I got some dried apricots. So you see those? And I have roughly about 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna be getting ready my chicken broth that I have and also some salt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to chop up our apples and stick them in there. And I don't mind doing like big chunks. I think it's actually kind of fun when you bite into like a big chunk of something. So leave those kind of on the thicker side. And I like to do all different sizes. So some small, some bigger. So that way when we do, it cooks, some get a little mushy and some get a little bit more firm. So I'm gonna throw this into the bowl. I'm gonna start taking some of these apricots. I'm gonna cut them up. I don't mind they're a little too thick either, because remember, I like big chunks. You can choose to leave these off if you'd like. I'll also be adding some pecans towards the end. So that way it still has a little bit of crunch, because if we put it in now and they're sitting there all day, it's gonna get a little mushy. And then you won't even be able to notice that there's pecans in there. So this is gonna bring out a little bit of sweetness in it. If you wanted to, if you had any dates left over from when you did your yams, you can actually throw some of those in there too. You need to even throw the rest of the applesauce in there to give it a little bit of sweeter flavor. So I'm going to dump this in here. Look how gorgeous that looks, and it smells so good. So good. So while we're waiting for our cornbread to dry out and get more dry, we're just gonna wait now. So once we do that, we're just gonna throw it in here and we're gonna mix it all up. And then next we'll be throwing in the crock pot. So stay tuned. So if you take a look at our crumbled cornbread, it's starting to get brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the oven off, but leave it in here so it just dries out in the nice heat. All right, our cornbread is done. If you can see how nice and brown this is, and it is like a crouton. So we're gonna take this, combine it with our other stuff that we have going on in here. So our apricots, our apples, our sauteed onions and celery. We're gonna mix this all together with 2 cups of chicken broth and 1 teaspoon of salt. We're then going to stick it all inside of our crock pot right here. We're gonna turn it on low and we're gonna let it sit all day. Time to check our stuffing. Look at that. You can see your apples and apricots in there. Delicious. If you like a crunch on it, you would want to pop this in the oven and get that nice crunch layer on top.